it on the Discord and on the Twitter.
I just realized I'm wearing a shirt that tells you I drink while I'm pregnant.
Yeah, because you're a great role model.
Judgment freedom.
Oh, for sure. Let me just make sure that actually sent, because my internet is flaky. It's like, oh, you want to live stream and do other things? Unacceptable.
No.
I can't upload a video on Watch Disney Plus.
I told my parents you can't use the internet.
No.
It's like busy. I'm on it.
Yeah.
Right. Let's do this the classic way of introducing who we are. And then, as an additional little thing, what we gave Playing with Fire, stars-wise. So I'm Hannah, but also known as Ladder M, and I gave it 4 stars.
I'm Abby from Abbey of Pelennor, and I gave it 5 stars. Why are you asking?
Fair enough.
I'm Allie from The Chaotic Reader. I finished it 10 minutes ago, so I haven't thought about a rating yet, but probably 4.
Okay.
And I'm Becca from the Book Sanctum, and I gave it 5 stars as well, because of course I did.
Excellent. And we have Kelly in the comments, which I love.
Hey!
My wife!
My wife. Yeah, I love that I came out as your daughter wife or your daughter sibling or something like that. That was
well,
weird.
I married your bookshop and then gave apparently birth to you so you could run it.
Yeah, which makes sense. Somehow it doesn't. It's one of those like family tree things that's going around on Twitter at the moment.
Should I have brought vodka for this?
I mean, I don't think it would have hurt. I don't think it would have hurt.
We could have found a key word and then just played a drinking game.
Oh no, I genuinely think we should, whilst we're here as well, come up with a skullduggery book tag to do, because I haven't seen one. I can't find one anywhere, and I figure why not?
Yes.
I need easy content to film right now anyway.
Right?
So.
Exactly. So we can come up with it here as like a sneak preview, and then we'll just go away and film it when we've got time, because let's be honest, we'll just do it that
Yeah,
way.
I mean, give me 4 months, but 100% up for it.
Absolutely. So Kelly also gave it a 4, and that she loves you. And Lizzie is here. I've just spent the last 5 hours playing D&D with Lizzie, and Lizzie DM'd like an absolute boss. So thank you, Lizzie, and shout out to you for that. So
now.
Right, can't get enough of me. That's what it is. I'm like,
I miss D&D, but my D&D friends that we were playing online with apparently don't. I don't know. They bailed.
Oh, they bailed.
I've never played.
Huh?
I've never played D&D.
It's so good.
What? I can so see it being your thing, though.
I've never played. I don't know how.
You love
I just never found a group of people to play it with who are as nerdy as I am.
Maybe we'll come up with a skullduggery based D&D one shot, and then I'll DM for you.
Oh, nice, yes.
I did enjoy, very much enjoyed. And there we go. Kelly is also welcome to come play D&D with us anytime. Anyway, this is not a D&D live, although it definitely could be. So I'm going to put the non-spoiler discussion banner up so that we can discuss it non-spoilery. And then anyone else that turns up will know that we're not talking spoilers yet. That being the premise. So we had a whole bunch of new characters. Obviously, the last book ended with the premise of faceless ones and ancients and things like that, and the fact that Serpine wanted to bring them back. And then we had something very similar in this one. But again, talking about it like an open forum type thing, I really liked that there was no one antagonist, and there certainly wasn't any one storyline. It kind of broke out into smaller rivulets of evil, if that makes sense. So how did you guys find that?
I love how much it brought into the world. So you saw so many different people coming around and setting up so many more things that obviously are to come, and just giving you so much more detail on how the world works and where everybody is, that kind of thing. I'm not explaining that right, but I loved how it just sort of opened everything up a bit more.
It goes into so much depth compared to, obviously, the first book just has to kind of introduce you to everything. This one takes that and runs with it, and it's right, you know what world we're in now. Here's where I get to show you all the... Can we swear on this?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Where you see all the cool shit.
Yeah.
to check just before I did.
No, go ahead. I swear like a fucking trooper, so don't you worry.
Oh, fuck, have you seen my videos? But yes, so it's like, okay, you know how this functions. You know the basic premise. Here's some weird shit. We're going into it now.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
See, I think that might have been why it was 4 stars for me. Is I'm good with like them just throwing you in, but there were so many characters that sometimes I was just like, okay, I thought this was this guy, but it's actually this guy. Like I kept getting everyone confused.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
quite
there are a lot of characters just in the whole series.
Yeah.
Me and Becca are going to struggle with that the least, obviously, because we're going, oh yeah, it's them, and it's them, and it's them. Whereas you guys are like, who's that? Okay.
It's like, oh, there's someone else. Cool. But like, what I do like is the fact that if you meet them at the beginning, they do have. They're not in it for like 5 minutes. They're not just like a little extra. Like even like Vorian's Scapegrace, who like is like chapter 1, pops in like throughout the story. I think that's really important because I think a lot of authors will be like, right, I need this character to do this one thing, so I'm going to create this really 2-dimensional character to do this one thing, and then actually like they're not used later. Whereas there are other characters, which we'll talk more about in the the spoilery bit, because I really want to talk about it, that do come back, and although their motives are the same, their actions aren't. And I found that really like, that's really cool, because a lot of authors just don't bother with that. But,
Sorry if you can hear a child. He's jumping up and down in front of his television.
he's excited. That's fair. So are we.
That's fine.
It's fine.
So Kelly said that I think the audio really helped with that because they had such distinct voices.
I've never
Is it
listened
just
to the audiobook.
no?
Neither
Neither
have
have I. But I think it's on Scribd at the moment. Do you know?
Might have to give it a go just to see what it's like. I wonder, do they have Irish accents in the audiobook? I need to know. Please comment.
Answer that question, please.
Other than
Because I think they
Tannic.
should. They
Irish
should have
accents
Irish
is good.
accents. Yeah. I always forget that it's set in Ireland until they specifically say Ireland, and then I'm like, oh yeah.
I permanently have them all with an English accent, and then I'm like, wait a minute, they're not supposed to be. Every time.
So Kelly said, yes, I'm listening on Scribd.
Oh.
And I'm not gonna lie, I worked that out when I was like 200 pages in, and I was like, I could just do the last 100 pages via audiobook. That would make it go a lot quicker. But I'm here now. I might as well just keep reading it. So,
I mean, both work.
and they do have Irish accents.
Good. Okay. Then I
might. Maybe I'll do the 5th one, because the 5th one is chunky in comparison to the others. Because I was like looking at this one that we've just done versus 5, which is twice the size. I'm like, oh, that one will be done by audiobook.
Have you got 7 on your shelves? Because that's a big one.
That is a big one. That is a big
Or
one.
the latest one that we've just got is huge, isn't it?
The next one is a little bit longer, but not much.
No.
So this
Although we
is
still need to actually read it.
7 and 8.
Oh.
Okay.
Obviously they're hardback, so they look bigger, but they are both. Let me check. Both just over 600 pages.
Nice.
Oh.
And then yeah, the new one. It's the biggest of all of them.
I'm going to
Okay.
figure it's not really middle grade by that point then.
They are still technically middle grade.
Yeah.
On the British ones on the back, it's got 11 plus, which amuses me greatly.
Okay.
Like it has that on these ones as well. 11 plus on 6 and 7. Let me check if it does. It's got 9 plus on this one.
I wonder what happens in those ones then to make it suddenly go from a U rating to a PG.
Say nothing.
Oh,
Nothing.
okay, I like that. It was a trap and you didn't fall for it.
Yeah.
I mean,
And she's
I'm going to
got
guess maybe there's romance aspects in the later ones or something. Because she's
I don't know.
older.
What worries me, I think we discussed this last time, is if you look it up on Pinterest, there's like fanfic of Skullduggery and Valkyrie, and that has ick factor for me.
Yeah, no.
So,
No.
but I do want to point out that Abby is sat on a pile of bedding and managed to do all of that without falling over. So can we just give Abby a round of applause for not falling over on the internet?
And I'll have to sit
I
back on
honestly would have laughed so hard if just as you said that, she just fell over.
Yeah, Schadenfreude, definitely would have as well.
Honestly, I would have accepted just for the comedic value getting a concussion and falling off the bed.
I mean, I'd have really appreciated it for the views and the likes.
True.
You'd have been really doing me a favour there, Abby.
Honestly, and then my dad would have came in, and there wouldn't have been any concern. I have
No.
an ex-military father. It would have just been, the fuck are you doing? And
Why are you on the floor? That's
pretty
fair.
much.
Right, are we ready to move on to spoiler territory? I know we've only been in non-spoiler territory for like 10 minutes, but I'm desperate to talk about all these characters like in depth, and I don't want to risk being like, oh yeah, it's non-spoilers, but also here's what this character did in explicit detail. So unless there's anything else you guys want to add.
There's just not much to say non-spoiler after like the first book either. So
No.
Yeah, like, go watch the first live.
Yeah,
For the-
then come back.
yeah. It'll tell
So-
you all you need to know.
Non-spoiler territory. Let's talk about then some of these additional. I made notes because, of course, I did. I'm a nerd, and I do that. So let's talk about Baron Vengeance. And I kept going to say vengeance, and it annoys me that there's no additional
The
N.
group chat. When you realised this, I was like, how did you not know?
I have been reading that wrong for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel so bad that I read it
That's
wrong.
why it's worse, because you've been reading it for so long.
It's on the back. So for context, guys, Vengeance or Vengeance.
Although,
Where's the other
would
N?
you like something that is still technically non-spoilery, so I could have mentioned it, but that you may enjoy? So our main character. So I guess this is technically spoilery because you might not know when you first read the first book that her name's Stephanie, and then she takes a chosen name. Now, her chosen name, would one of you three like to say it for me?
Valkyrie.
Valkyrie Kane.
I'd never had someone say those words. So I learnt them through reading. Meaning that forever, I'm aware of the correct way of saying it, but forever in my head, she's Valkyrie Kane.
Valkyrie. Okay.
Valkyrie, and it, like, every time I read it now, every time, like, remembering how big this is, every time I read her name, Valkyrie.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I found out by mentioning her name to my boyfriend, who then just turned to look, he loves, like, Norse mythology and all that, and he just turned to look and went, you mean Valkyrie? I was like,
Valkyrie. Yeah.
I had the exact same thing happen to me with Artemis Fowl recently. Because I was calling her Lazuli, and Mum was like, Lazuli. And I was like, oh.
you know that?
Yeah. Yeah.
I just went, I'm dyslexic, leave me alone. I'm just dyslexic. It's fine.
I think like a lot of people get stick for like how they like say certain words, but if you've learnt them through reading, how would you know? Because there's so much in the English language that is just there just to mess with you. Just
Yeah,
to
like, am I supposed to go and, like, as a child, ask my parents every time with a word? Because trust me, I can bring them in here to verify this. They couldn't be fucking asked. Like, no, you're bothering us enough as it is. Piss off.
I'm like Abby asks, can I swear? And then every other word has been a swear word. She's like, I'm getting the most out of this.
I checked before I did.
I love it because usually it's just me. I just swear by myself, and everyone else is just like, Hannah, kids watch
My
this. And I'm
lecturer
like, I don't
me
care.
swearing, Mary. So yeah.
So yeah, Baron Vengeance. Oh, I might just call him Vengeance because it's easier for me to say. Interesting as a bad guy for multiple reasons. But what did you guys think? I'm starting with him because he's meant to be the head honcho bad guy, but as we find out in the last 5 chapters, not. So, thoughts?
I love him.
Okay.
I don't know if I had much for thoughts on him, to be honest. I feel like he was the one I had the least thoughts on.
That's fair. That's fair.
I'm similar in that, like, it's just like I know he's there, and he kind of. Okay, this is not like indicative of Landy's writing. He just moves the plot along, but that's not like a bad thing about the writing. He's meant to be useless. He's like written to be like this big bad who can't seem to actually do that much. Like he's done some bad things, but not quite enough for the reader to be like, oh, it's more just like, oh, it's him again.
Yeah, because I think he's quite sinister, by sheer power level as opposed to actually actions. And something that they discuss, like, I think it's literally China says to him, because he's like, I'm in Vile's armor, so I am basically as powerful. And she's like, no, because you haven't got the creativity that he had. You don't have the abilities. You don't have the forethought. Like, you're never going to be like he is. You're never going to be the villain he is. And it's kind of proven true, because he has a very singular plan in quite a militaristic kind of way anyway. And he doesn't really adapt at all, because he doesn't think he needs to. So it then is quite satisfying when that becomes his fatal flaw as well.
It's very much regimented. I want this goal. This is the most logical and basic route to this goal. So I'm going to pursue it until its end. I can see these offshoots. I think you're stupid for picking them. I'm picking this one. And then it doesn't matter.
I'm gonna hop out for just a moment.
Yeah, I agree. And Kelly has said that Avengers was eclipsed by Sanguine, which I think is completely fair, because when he rocked up, I was just like, okay, he seems like legitimately dangerous, but he's also just more interesting in just the way his dynamic works.
I always forget that he's written to be hot.
Yeah, that was weird. When he flirts with the Italian girls at the end, I was like, oh yeah, you're fit, aren't you? Weird.
Yeah, I forget until it's mentioned that, like, just my brain's like, nah, he's just a regular dog. It's like, no, he's hot. I'm like, okay, all right.
Yeah. Who would you have play him if you were going to fan cast him as a hot guy? Which hot actor would you have? Because I can't imagine anyone outside of, like, your standard Texan. So, like...
Channing Tatum.
I was watching Kingsman the other day, so I'd say him as well, even though I don't know.
He's got the... There's a lot of, like, hot Hollywood actors who know that they're hot and so then wouldn't play a stupid role. Whereas Channing Tatum's like, yeah, I'm traditionally attractive. I'll be a tit. Bring it to me. I'll do it. So he would happily play a no-eyed, ground-sinking hot guy from Texas.
That's what I don't get. How can you be hot and have no eyes? Like, I don't know how I could look at you and be like, sexy. I get that he's got sunglasses on when he's flirting with people, but that's still weird to me.
It's the Crowley effect.
Ireland. He's in Ireland.
Oh, okay.
I was saying it's the Crowley effect. Crowley and Good Omens.
See, when it's raining, sunglasses. I'm surprised I haven't tweeted Landy about this yet. Just being like, how? Why? Does no one question the sunglasses? Like, I get that he can see in the dark, so it's not going to be an issue to him himself. But, like, if I see someone walking down the street with sunglasses on, that's looking around and you can tell that they don't have any visual impairment, it's like, what are you doing?
See, I always assume that they've got prescription sunglasses and they don't know where their actual glasses are.
Or reactor lenses.
Because that's what I do. If I'm wearing my sunglasses, it's because I've got 3 pairs of glasses, just in case. If I'm wearing my sunglasses, I've lost all 3 pairs. Don't know where they are.
I don't have prescription sunglasses. If I'm wearing sunglasses, I have migraine.
Yeah, that's fair. Kelly says he looks like a ridiculous cowboy in her mind, and I agree. I think he's a ridiculous cowboy.
Cowboy hat.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I could also see, like, Chad Michael Murray. Don't know if he might be a bit too old, but, like, I could see it.
I can see that one.
Huh?
I can see that
I'm
one.
going to Google him.
Oh.
Freaky Friday.
I don't watch movies.
Okay.
Really?
Ah. I've seen him in something, some sort of
Agent Carter.
Disney-esque.
Is it Agent Carter?
Agent Carter, he's in Cinderella's Story. He's
Freaky
in
Friday.
Yeah.
I really don't watch movies.
Yeah,
I'm a movie buff, so generally if people go, who was he? And I can go, that.
Ali, what do you think about Billy Ray Sanguine? Dogs.
I can't win. Hey, Hannah! I don't even know what she's barking at.
Us.
Oh Lord!
She's given her opinions on Billy Ray Sanguine.
Apparently. I think he was the one who I basically, like, as soon as he appeared, I was like, he's an anime character.
Yeah, that's fair. I think he is. I think he texted me that the other
I'm
day.
already getting people confused.
That's fair. Yeah, especially with like the ability to move. I thought when they first describe him like arriving, I thought he could just like walk through walls like a creepy ghost. Because like they've done creepy stuff with vampires, so it makes sense for them to do creepy stuff with like other mythical creatures. But then it's just like, oh no, I can just move dirt around. I was like, that's less exciting, to be honest. Like it's a cool ability, but it's less exciting.
It just made me think of a totally unrelated and not even slightly similar book, but it made me think of the 5th season because they do that a lot in that series. And I was just like, he's just like doing the thing. And it's described basically the same way as it is in that book.
Huh. So I wonder who's a fan of who.
When did the 5th season come out?
Like a couple of years ago. Like it's not. I don't think it's that old.
2008.
There we go.
Pretty sure it's after that.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty sure it is.
So Jemson's a Landy fan, confirmed.
Confirmed. Well, that's our conspiracy theory, anyway. I mean, who isn't? Let's be honest. Any other points you want to make about Billy Ray, other than the fact that is a dumb name? Who would choose Billy Ray?
There's basically comments from me on every single name that I'm just like, why? Why are these the names?
Do you reckon he named himself after Billy Ray Cyrus?
I hope not, but
Yeah.
probably.
Texas, all the rest of it. I wouldn't be surprised if he went, that sounds cool.
That's
Is
upsetting.
this just me making a list of things to tweet at Derek Landy?
Yeah.
Because
Do it.
This is when we find out that not only is it named after him, it's a homage because he bloody loves his music.
Oh, Lord.
No.
on something that he loves, I can't believe I forgot his blade.
Yes.
Oh,
That was
His blade's
interesting.
so cool. Like, I know that it's just like obviously something that could be made in the world, but I just love how it's used in the book. So you don't like really find out about like how much impact it can have with the permanent scars. And then it kind of allows for the reason for the vampire to just go a bit like
Yeah, I think it's also really interesting because like when Sanguine is like, but it literally has like a part of my soul in it. I was like, watch her snap it in half and then he'll die. Like, that is my fan theory. I think that's what's going to happen. She's going to do something to the knife and it is going to physically affect him. It hasn't happened yet, but I suspect. And I'm
me and
watching Becca's face to see if I'm right.
Here, like,
I'm trying to work on the poker face.
Mm.
I'm just no good at it.
No, that's fair
my
enough.
poker face just makes me look pissed off. So if I look pissed, it's because I'm trying not to spoil you.
That's fair. I appreciate you.
When
Okay,
I cover my
so-
face, I'll just do this. I think you make me wet. Nothing to say. Just weeping
What about
angel.
Dusk? As other bad guys go, what do we think of Dusk?
He's another. I was more interested in all just like the I feel like murdering people dudes.
He's very much a soldier.
Yeah.
He takes his orders, he follows his orders, and until he's got a personal vengeance, he's not going to go above and beyond his orders. But the second that you do something that's going to actually piss him off, then he's going to hate you for the rest of the time.
I love that
Well,
he
for the rest of your time, because it won't last very long.
I love that he uses the serum to keep himself calm, like, and just to stop the vampire nature. So then, when he does lose the serum, you're like, "Oh God!" and you have to.
It has actual consequences. Yeah,
Yeah.
I like that.
I like the half and half as well.
Mm.
So it wasn't
That was
just,
grotesque.
"Zero,
That was
no
really
serum."
gross.
It's like this combination of like half. It's things like that that make me be like, "How is this middle grade?"
Mm.
Like
Yeah.
half torn skin. Just,
Yeah, very gross.
I mean, I love it, but why
But he
would
was
I
quite
be
a Jekyll and Hyde
middle?
character, wasn't he? Because I quite liked the fact that it seemed like rooted in like. I know they reference it a lot in this book, which they did not in the first book, which is the idea of like a magical science and the idea that you can perfect your abilities but using like outward sources. I thought that was quite cool. And I think he's quite an obvious example of that because he's using the serum and stuff.
Ken Special.
He's
Oh,
next to my
yeah,
list. He's
he's the
next to
best.
my list because he is just
Love
he's
him.
great. He is just great. He reminds me of all those teachers that, like, even if everyone else is really mad at you or they seem like they're mad at everyone, like, they're like teacher's pet kind of thing. Like, he's so nice to Valkyrie, and he's just like, does that hurt? Good. No. All right.
He reminds me a bit of. Did anybody ever read the Morganville Vampires?
No, I didn't.
Oh, because he reminds me of the scientist in that who's ironically a vampire, but it's sort of like he's just a little bit mad scientist. And I love that he's just this little mad scientist type dude.
Yeah.
It always reminds me of a biology teacher I had. So obviously that links in as well. But he just didn't give a shit. Like, as in, he would speak like me in like GCSE. So for non-English people, that's age 14 to 16 compulsory exams. Like, swearing like a trooper. I still remember, like, A-level, which is then 16 to 18 exams. I had him for that as well. And at one point, he was just really hot in summer. So he got his scissors, went and tore off the sleeves of his button-down shirt. I was like, that's better. And then just carried on. I was like, what is wrong with you?
Did everyone have an extra biology teacher? Because I feel like I had a biology teacher that was very, well, he's a physics teacher, but he was like, yeah, he was bizarre.
He's
always
always
one
one who took any chance he could to light things on fire or explode them.
Yeah.
We
That's
had that
one.
with our chemistry teacher. She used to set her hand on fire, cover it in like bubbles or something, and then just set it on fire. And we'd just be like, bigger flames! And she'd do it. And then on school dress up day, she'd walk. And then on school dress up day, she'd just walk down. Yeah. Like, just walk down the corridor scaring all the year sevens by dressing as a Death Eater.
Why not?
And just storming down the corridor, she'd just pop everyone. Just like,
The way you said that, though, like, and then she did it, just killed me. I'm dead. I'm deceased. And then she did it. But yeah. Anyway, back to Dusk and Ken Speckle.
Derail.
I really liked with Ken Speckle when the guys are getting the grotesquerie off the little trolley thing, and he's like, I would like to point out that I have never dropped a specimen. I just want that known. Just so you're all aware, I am far more qualified, better than all of you, just being casual about it. And they're just like, yeah,
I'm
okay, but like,
what are you doing?
yeah. So much more competent than all of you put together.
I think my favorite moment is when they got Candace to the sanctuary and he administers the antidote or whatever, and then he's like, so are you gonna go kill that thing or what?
Yeah.
Like,
this was an inconvenience to me, so
He just feels like he's just totally done constantly. He's just done with everyone.
yeah.
You've
And he
brought this
absolutely
shit
is.
to my door, you're gonna sort it, okay?
Yeah.
Sort it.
Agreed. Also, he managed to get Skullduggery to wear a sheet with bunnies on it. So can we all just discuss that visual for a second? A skeleton wearing a hospital gown that is pink with bunnies on it. Love that.
And then Valkyrie just in a standard, nice, respectable blue gown.
Yeah. And I love that he's like, was there no more respectable blue for me? I love that.
Do you think Ken Speckle actually hates Skullduggery, or do you think he's just a bit annoyed with him?
Annoyed.
I think he likes hating him.
Mm.
Like, if you actually was able to go into his mind and see yes or no, does he hate him? No. But he enjoys the act of hating him.
Yeah, I think
the banter's nice. It's a different dynamic, and especially because he kind of reminds me of Gordon. Like, it feels to me that he is the Gordon replacement, because Valkyrie treats him and has banter with him almost mirror image the way she did with her uncle, and I think he views her in the same way that her uncle viewed her, as like this little niece protege. And I just think she must just instill that in old men, like, of just this, I will go under your wing and I will learn everything that you say, because now she's had 3 separate men much older than her just go, let me teach you a thing, you know? Like, I just feel like she obviously instills that in them. So
But
that's
they
I
also, all of them have done it in like a really, like, it's not been like it's not been the way of like, oh, you don't know this.
Yeah.
Let me teach you. You're stupid. It's very much, you're a child. I'm much older than you. You can handle this.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you how to handle it. And
Yeah.
that is something that I really like. Although I will say that in this book there was some very 2008 stuff. Like I'm pretty sure there was some fat phobia in there.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot anyway with the twins and with family members of Stephanie's, but there was some with like just like random people out and about as well that I didn't pick up on at the time because it was standard in British kids books at that time, so you don't even notice it, and then reading it back, it's like.
The problem is that, like, it's still really prevalent because we discussed this last time, and I was like, was I the only one that like noticed and had a problem? And people were like, I guess I noticed, but it's not a big deal because like you have authors like David Walliams who are still using shit like that in their books.
My parents threaten me that if I buy any more books, they're going to buy me a David Walliams book. I hate him so much. It's just.
I don't hate him as a person. I just think that why are you including that in your story writing? And I get that when he was doing his comedy, that was part of the joke because a lot of the jokes that he and can't even remember the other guy's name now, Matt Lucas, did were about their weight and their shape and their size. And I think in slapstick it works, but it's such an easy punchline to make. So like, what is the point? And I just think, come on, David, you're better than that. But apparently not.
I'm messaging Becca right now asking if I can say something.
Okay.
So
I'll get it up.
Trying to work out if it's a spoiler or not.
Well,
okay, fine. Whilst you do that, Ali, anything to add about Ken Speckled Grouse, which is the most adorable name of all of them, really. But
I just feel like I don't think he really hates anyone. He just doesn't want to be interrupted. He's like, I got my shit. I want to do my shit. And that's probably why he seems like he hates Skullduggery, because he's like, you just keep showing up and fucking shit up.
But he makes
I just want to do my shit.
I just want to do my shit.
But it malifens his day up.
Yeah.
Until they destroy specimens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the specimen tried to destroy them first, to be fair.
He keeps him on his toes. Gives him something to
Also,
do.
Becca has responded. She believes that this is safe to talk about. So I'm just going to do very high level. And if you disagree, obviously, we'll stop. But in terms of going back to, we were just talking about fat phobia, Landy's representation in the later books is fantastic. It gets so much better. You can tell, like, obviously, this is my opinion. Becca, let me know if you agree, but you can tell that he has learned just from, obviously, everything that's happened in the past 10 plus years. He's learned, he's taken it on board, and he actually is putting it into his writing. And that's, like, something that I've noticed especially when I picked up the second half of the series with the new covers. And that's something that I think's been done really well. So just as, like, a thing for you, it gets better. He knows now, like, it's not an author who's like, no, it's fine. Like, he's now, and I don't think he would write it in the same way now.
See, I think that's really important because I think that's the thing to think about. Is like, I'm happy to reread stuff from like before 2015 and go, well, this was really problematic, but it's only problematic in the context of this. Because I was talking to, this is completely going off topic, but just relevant. I was talking to Olivia Catastrophe about how I write my characters and how when I wrote one of the books I did for my master's, that was nearly 5 years ago. I wrote my characters as ethnically ambiguous because 5 years ago I was like, well, I don't want to talk over authors of colour, but I also don't want to exclude anyone. So if I make it ambiguous, that's a nice, safe in-between on the fence thing. Whereas I think now, 5 years later, that's less acceptable because why am I not just picking what I need to pick and actually have it as a facet of the story and actually have proper inclusivity as opposed to something that is quite performative to then say, oh, I'm going to go like Bridget in the middle. And I think when it comes to fat phobia, it's such a thing that's not really cared about unless you are overweight or something that is like you're sensitive to that. I think you have to train yourself to be sensitive to it in a way that it's not really mainstream, I guess, to be sensitive towards it because it's like it's only just becoming part of the conversation. It is growing, and I think in 5 years' time any kind of fat phobia will be completely unacceptable in the way that other phobias are. Do you know what I mean? And I think it is going in that way. So it's great to hear that that's not the case.
Because I've managed to put myself in a bubble on the internet. Like, as everyone knows, and if you don't know, welcome to a revelation. Where you are on the internet is not the internet. You're in a bubble. And my bubble is incredibly like left-wing, liberal, but also very, and it has been for a few years now, very anti-fatphobic. Like, I mean, hello, just to point out the obvious, I am slim. Like, just the arms, you can tell.
You're like,
I am.
This does it.
Like, I am a slim human being. I most likely always will be, genetically. My mother makes me look like I'm big when I stand next to her. She is a very slim lady. So I'm just never going to get very big. So it's not like this is something that I've had to face myself, or like my immediate family that I'm always around is themselves all slim. But every single, obviously there's exceptions, but like every single like big creator that I follow online is very pro-big. Like, and so it's then coming out of that and reading something like this from 2008 where it laughs at someone fat, and I'm like,
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
So yeah, just you saying that, I'm like, oh yeah, and I was like, that's made me realize that that must be in my bubble. Because I just
maybe
thought,
it is.
yeah,
And maybe
everyone's fine with it now. No.
But it could just also be that I'm very hypersensitive to it. Like, I am self-conscious about my size, and it's one of those things where, like, I have hang-ups from when I was younger, and I was slimmer. That doesn't make any sense. Like, I showed a photo to my friends the other day of me as a 15-year-old, and then told them a comment about someone that made a comment about my size as a 15-year-old that I still, when I go to the gym, I hear it in my head that this was said to me, kind of thing. And it's like, I don't even look like that. And I'd love to look like that, and I don't. But I still have that hang up.
So I've had comments about my weight.
Yeah.
This is fluctuating, but this kind of bracket that I'm in is the biggest I've been, which makes sense because I'm the oldest I've been, and I'm only 24. But even when I was younger, I would get like fat phobic comments.
Yeah.
Whereas I distinctly remember, how many years ago now? 3 years ago, on the other end of the spectrum, I had someone tell me I looked like I had just walked out of Auschwitz. And then at the same time, I was getting fat phobic comments. So, but then the fat phobic comments, no one was saying anything about, but he said that. It was on, I have like a very vivid memory because this was on like a field trip to Guyana. So like that is like seared in my brain. It's like a fancy big thing. And everyone on that trip was like, you can't say that. But no one would do that if he'd said something the other way around. No one would have said a thing, even if I had have been plus size and he was saying something.
Yeah.
No one would have said a thing, but he said that and they were like,
yeah. Because it's the Auschwitz they've got the issue with, not the fact that he's referencing your size. But anyway, yeah, we could talk about this for hours. So let's go back to the book, because I was like, right, let me just go through all of my childhood trauma about my size. It's not relevant. So we'll go back. But no, I think you're right about like the fact that it's great to hear that actually it does change as it goes. So the next person I want to talk about is the Grand Mage, the new Grand Mage Guild. Thoughts?
I was just like, of course he's not really a good guy. Just of course.
Agreed to all of the. I'm trying that way. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's one of those things where, like, because we were supposed to kind of like the last one, but understand where he was coming from, that he wasn't necessarily going to be a nice guy, but he had the right intentions. This guy, I feel like he is not the nice guy, but I don't think he's going to be the main big bad, because I don't know if that his indignance is covering up for the fact that he is actually the big bad. I love that you're both doing that again, but like,
we know the big bad.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, and I think Valkyrie said the same thing. Is your child destroying your home?
Just his playroom.
Okay, fine. Just checking.
Oh, that's fine then.
Yeah, he can destroy that all he wants.
But yeah, no, I think he is meant to be distrustful, and therefore I'm like, it's probably a bit too obvious. But then again, it is for kids, so maybe it isn't. You know,
he exudes the vibes of, I'm not going to respect you as a human until you respect me as an authority figure.
Yeah,
that's his vibes.
I hate teachers like that, let alone other authority figures.
he just screams twat whenever he's just like
in neon
twat,
lights.
twat, twat, twat. And you're like,
Literally, it's like it's like they've taken Ken Stackle's Cinema and then just put the Grand March as a twat above it.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Or just
Let's move.
spray paint it on the side of the like sanctuary.
I wouldn't
Spray
put it
paint it.
past delivery.
He'd do it. He'd
That's
totally do it on a dare.
Vorian Scapegrace.
He's the one who, right in the beginning, I was like, "Oh, look, an anime character." He's
Yes.
the one who immediately I was like, very hardcore and anime. Like every word he says, I'm just literally imagining an anime scene in my head.
I just love that he's so incompetent. Yeah, I love that he's so incompetent because he fails fighting them at the beginning. Like that's the opening thing. He then comes back. He has a prime opportunity to escape, and he decides to gloat, and then gets caught again. Like, just imagine being that stupid.
But he's just so funny with it.
He just
He's
can't.
kind of livable.
In his way.
I don't know if I love him for it, but I just think he's fun to. I kind of love being able to laugh at him.
It's like a little like, oh,
You tried.
It's
Yeah,
when all
like,
his
he's come
mates
up
are like,
to
"We're
it
gonna kill
nice
them, and then we're gonna kill you," and he's like, "Oh,
see,
nah."
You
I
just
don't
have
actually
a
feel those
sticker
feelings.
saying you tried. Just a little sticker.
Here's a little sticker. I don't think he even tried, and I don't think he deserves a sticker. But I did think him as a bad guy popping up again. That's what I meant earlier when I said the fact that he's the first person introduced as like a villain. And the fact that he's then useful later, I thought was really important because so many authors just don't bother. Like, it would have been so easy for Derek Landy to have picked anyone else to be the person they go and see. Do you know what I mean? And just create another character to be like, oh, the torment is in such and such a place. Like, it could have been anyone. But they chose it to be. I thought that was good.
one more like extreme example of that, as in taking a character who doesn't need to be taken, is Jack from London. Like the one that jumps around all the buildings. Like he's mentioned in the first book when they're meeting Tanith, and that's like the plot line of getting Tanith to Ireland rather than being in London. And again, like Landy doesn't need to use him. There's like no requirement that it has to be him that's used for that. I mean, they needed someone British to sow the seed. Tanith's already in Ireland.
Yeah.
Like, and so just like that, weaving that in again is another way where he, instead of just creating, obviously it's good to make more characters and flesh out the world, but he has so many characters as it is that he interweaves them really well.
Yeah, Jack was going to be the next one that I bring up because I think, again, he was really interesting because the only reason he turns up to, like, kick Sanguine's butt is because Sanguine and Dusk messed with him. And then he's like, oh, what? I helped the good guys? I hate that for me.
I love the way that Valkyrie, I said it right, you should be so proud of me. The way that she's like, you know what? You saved my life. I won't get Tanith to come and kill you. You've got 10 minutes. I'll go let them know. You go.
Well, she says that she's like, I'll tell them in the morning. And I'm like, he's literally killed people.
Yeah.
Tell them in an hour. He gets an hour.
I would just be like, you have until I see them next.
Yeah.
Like, technically that's what she's just done though, with all of the like baby vampires that Dusk just turned. And she had just jumped into saltwater, knowing that saltwater would kill vampires. Yes, she's not the one who turned them, which is like the loophole for it, because she didn't turn them into vampires, but she's the one who ended their existence by jumping into saltwater. So is she really then going to be judging a murderer? Yes, but obviously there's that whole thing of like, it's a bit...
Morally grey.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is. And she's quite a morally great character in general because she's not nice to her family. And like one of the things they say in the first book is that she's not nice to other kids because she thinks other kids are idiots. And it's just like you expect respect from adults, but you don't give respect to anyone who hasn't deserved it either, which is why I think maybe like it's interesting that we don't mind it from her, but from Guild, we're unacceptable.
Maybe it's because Guild's a fully grown adult, so you expect more maturity from him.
Yeah, whereas she's like 13. So.
Yeah, she's very much a child.
Very much a child. Yeah, that's fair.
He does tend to respect people who've proven that, again, child, but also she's like respects people who've proven their worth. And her and Skullduggery in the last book already proved that they should at least be like begrudgingly allowed to be like, all right, you can sort this shit. And Gil doesn't. And I think that's part of the reason why he's then like in your head as someone that you don't like, because it's like, but they've already shown, again, in a very childish manner, it's a kid's book, but it's like they've already shown they're competent and he's like choosing to accept it. And from an adult perspective, it's like, yeah, it's one time and you're a child. But from a kid's perspective, for a middle grade book, it's like, we did it. Hello. So I think that that's part of it as well.
I love this. I love this. Because, like, I feel the same where it's just like, oh, yeah, I have the sarcasm. I hated everyone. But I just didn't, go around saving the world. But other than that, we're basically the same person.
Like, you send me to kick someone's ass and they would probably get, like, a very faint bruise. But, like, I can whip them to hell and back with my words.
With my words.
But with the physical, I make everybody else do that.
Oh no, I could probably fuck some shit up if I needed to.
I am too disabled.
That's fair.
I talk a lot of smack. I've got to admit. Like, I was out today and I was still threatening under my breath that I was going to kill people, essentially.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant like actually going out of your way to threaten people. But I thought there's a difference between like threatening them and then being like, yeah, you walk away.
No, it's more like under my breath, but if I actually had to fight someone, I'd run away crying.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like, I've managed to surround myself with people who can do it for me. Like in school, my friends, still friends with one of them, who is a Londoner who moved up to the northeast of England with a Glaswegian mother, and she is 6 foot tall.
Yeah. You don't mess.
I was fine. Like, she had one of those little cards at school where you could, like, show it, and it was like, she leaves, and then she would just drag me out with her, and the teachers were so scared of her that I was like, okay, I'm getting out of class, this is fine.
Okay. That's really funny.
And then you have my friends all do Kung Fu.
According to Hannah, Emma, and Molly, I'm apparently a very nice person.
Yeah.
Which is why nobody believes me. If I don't get actually mad very often. I just don't. Well, except for I hate everything, but that's a different kind of mad. It's not the same. Like actually mad at another human, like actually pissed off that they've done a thing. And so no one believes me when I like threaten something. But I'm the kind of person where if like I get to the point where I'm threatening you with a thing and I'm actually upset, I will do that thing that I just threatened you with. And then people are always surprised when I do the thing that they've been threatened with.
Yeah, but you've not got to the point where you needed to threaten us, so we haven't seen it and we don't believe you. But like Ali's the nicest out of all of us because like we'll be like in a group chat just raging, and like really nasty shit about people that upset us casually or whatever, just to get it out of our system because that's a human thing to do. And Ali will be like, yeah, same, and we'll be like, no. It is not the same. Okay, what about the Torment?
Spider-Man. I like Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Don't ruin Spider-Man for me.
He was a Spider-Man though. He was a Spider-Man.
He was a literal Spider-Man.
I know. I hate spiders. I have a proper phobia of spiders, so
I love spiders.
No.
I like see them in my house and I'm like, look, a spider.
Look. Yeah, you're right, Ali. You're terrifying.
They're cute.
You saw the size of the spiders in my house. No.
What?
You saw the size of the spiders in my house. Sorry.
I won't even kill them. I just love them.
No.
I let them live in my house. Like, there's literally cellar spiders in like all the corners of my walls because I just leave them there. I'm like, yes, eat the other bugs.
No.
We are friends.
But we are
I
friends.
politely remove.
No, they can,
Politely.
I get my
just
mum
live
to
here.
remove them while I sit on a sofa and just like, get rid of it, please.
Most of them are quite territorial. So if you like, there are unlikely to be many because they're just, you know.
No, my house
They'll
is
eat
a
each other.
spider magnet.
They live
Anyway,
outside.
back to
I
the
live
actual Spider-Man.
inside.
I liked him because he could turn into a giant spider and summon just an army of spiders. And I was like, yes, please.
Nah, he was creepy.
We've just got a message.
Yeah.
She's not finished.
Mm-mm. So before we started, I warned the others that I had invited Emma Novella, but they have been hanging out with their family for a birthday, but COVID safe, etc., in their bubbles. And she's been drinking, and she hasn't finished the book, so she will not be joining us this evening. Just as an FYI. I mean, Ali and I only finished today.
Yeah.
It was only Becca and Abby who were actually, sensible
still
about doing a read
We're
along.
way ahead of me because you finished like this morning, whereas I was literally here 10 minutes before the show, like, yes.
But then it's fresh in your mind, which is key, because last time we did this, you were just like, don't know.
I have terrible memory.
I think it helps that me and Becca, for us, it's all like just like a refresher because we've both read the series multiple times already. So it's like, just remember which exact book we're talking about, and then you can go from there.
That's fair.
Which is why I brought it down, so I didn't give any spoilers.
That's why I'm excited for the book club that me and Hannah are going to start over the summer.
Yes, we are.
Just saying that's going to be a thing.
Can't
Tell me
wait.
more.
Tell me more.
And yes, I am properly obsessed with Torment because spiders.
No. You mentioned book club.
Yeah. Detail.
My favorite ever YA fantasy series is also one of Hannah's favorites, and it's the Poison Study series by Maria V. Snyder.
I've not read it.
A lot of
you are
people have
missing
not.
out. It is so
It's
good.
And I haven't
Invite
read.
me to the read along.
They're fantastic. Like, you want just like amazingly like kind of dark love interest. It's just like. But also, love interest is also baby.
Yeah, so basically, he's an absolute cinnamon roll, but he's also the assassin for the king. Like, but they don't really have kings, but it's like a whole thing. But basically, the opening chapter, and it's like on the blurb, this girl is in a prison cell. She's been there for the last 5 years because she killed the man who was her master. The assassin rocks up and goes, "We need a volunteer to be the king's food taster. So we're going to teach you how to taste for poisons," which is why it's called a poison study. And then he basically just trains her into being a killer and a whole bunch of other shenanigans. And it is very much like an assassin school, high drama, high fantasy. The B-list characters are my favorites. They're all just great. And it's such a diverse, such a great world. Like, it's wonderful. I love it.
That sounds amazing.
It's so
You have
good.
me intrigued.
Yeah. So eventually we will do that one too. Because I said I wanted to wait until the summer because I was like, I'm doing a lot. And then, if we start it in the summer and then kind of catch up from there. Because I think there's only 9 books in the original series because they did
Well, actually,
first 3 and then there was
There's
like
the
a
first
spin-off.
3. Well, there's the first 3 and there's a spin-off I never read that doesn't involve the same characters. It's different characters.
But you
then-
meet them in like book 2 or something like that.
They're like completely, so it's almost unrelated. But then she wrote a secondary trilogy that I never read because I didn't know she wrote it. I didn't know it was a thing. So there's now another trilogy with the original cast of characters, and I was like, I haven't read that yet.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just
Sorry.
laughing at the fact that if we had been on this live to discuss any other series, it would not have been the phrase, only 9 books.
Yeah.
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 In case
Absolutely.
you're unaware if you're watching.
Yeah, well, this is the thing is I was like, when I do a read along, let's make a commitment to like 3 years worth of work, shall we? Let's do
Like,
one
I
a
didn't
month.
think. I was like, oh yeah, 1 book a month. And then I was like, oh, maybe I should wait till we get through them
Yeah.
before picking up the most recent release. And I was like, no.
Yeah.
That's
why I'm kind of glad that we've got like at least like 12 people on the Discord. We've got 6 people hanging out here at the moment. So I'm like, that's fine. These 6 people will be with us till the end.
I don't think it's a good sign that neither of us decided to finish the book until today, though, and we're only on book 2.
That is only because so my reading in March was really bad because I usually do like a TBR card type thing, and in January and February, the books I picked out were just rubbish and I just didn't enjoy them. So in March, I was like, oh, I'm not having any accountability. I'm going to let someone else pick my TBR for me. And I really enjoyed those books, but I just read them really slowly. So by the time I actually got round to Skullduggery, I was like, I just wasn't in the mood to read. So I did cram it in this morning and I did really enjoy it. And I was actually really proud of myself that I managed to finish it in essentially 2 days.
They are quick reads.
Yeah.
Like, if obviously, like at work, 9-hour shifts. But if it's not a 9-hour shift day, I could finish this in 1 or 2 days. Like, one day would be like only reading this, maybe like, like obviously doing usual stuff in between, not just that reading this. It would take maybe 5.5, 6 hours.
Yeah.
So, like, it's not, like, something that takes a long time to get through, and that really helps. I think, as well, something to comment on, like, the structure rather than the characters. I noticed, more so through this read-through, that almost every chapter ends on a cliffhanger. Like, I've been, like, working on my own, like, work in progress thing, so I think that's part of the reason why I'm noticing it more as well. But he's very much like at the end of each chapter, there is a reason for you to come back for the next one. And I really like that. Like, it just keeps you in this, obviously, it keeps you in the story, and I just really enjoy it.
Yeah, I think it's a standard technique, but what I like about the way he does his cliffhangers is it's not like a cliffhanger where you feel guilty if you don't read on. Like, you're compelled to, but it's like, okay, it's almost like it's been set up for the next piece of action, so it just gives you enough of a breather to then start whatever the next thing is. Because I think there was a couple of times when, like, it sets up the next chapter is going to be like a fight scene or something like that, and it's like, okay, we know exactly who's here, and then we stop, and then the next scene is like the fight scene, and then there's still stuff in the chapter after that, but it's like that is the thing that you've like been propelled forwards for.
It doesn't unless there's a good reason to it, doesn't stop like mid-fight scene. Like, if there's a fight going on and it stops, it's because there's something else, like maybe like cheesy dialogue between the characters or something. Like, there's a reason for it to stop. It never is like mid-fight. It's not like, I don't know, Skullduggery's leg arched through the air, end of chapter. And you're like, did he kick him? No. Like, whether or not. You just don't know what the next phase of the story is going to be. You've got like hints to it, but you don't know. So it's like you said, it like wants you to keep reading, but it's not like you don't know what happened.
Yeah, exactly. So Ali, other than what we've already discussed, is there anything in your notes that you feel that we've missed?
Well, I was very irritated with how extreme, like, okay, Skullduggery and Valkyrie are supposed to be detectives, correct? Detectives. They detect things.
Yeah.
And I understand it was probably like it was written this way so that like the audience wasn't supposed to know, because the audience would normally be children. So they wouldn't know that like she's wanted for her having the like blood of an ancient. But like from the very beginning, I'm like, you guys, this is why they're after her. And then they finally tell her and she's like, what? And I'm like,
this is the thing. There's one brain cell between all of the characters, and China has it.
Yeah.
In the cupboard. And she's just
So
like, no,
true.
you're not touching it, you'll break it. You'll lose it, and then we're all screwed.
And sometimes she's like, right, you need to know this. Borrow the cell.
Yeah.
Right, give it back.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm watching you use it. Yeah.
You can have the brain cell, but I've got it on a zip cord so I can go yoink the second you do something dumb.
I would have been better if like Skullduggery like actually knew this and like later like just wasn't telling Valkyrie because he didn't want Valkyrie to know. But like no, nobody knew except for apparently
that?
while reading it.
Hmm.
That just brings he's good at foreshadow though.
Yeah, it does. And it is for
Well,
kids.
Yeah, it's
Abby, say
as
nothing.
Hmm?
Say
No,
nothing.
I'm not spoiling. I'm saying as adults, it's easier to. This is just about structure. You're fine. You're fine. Don't worry. Breathe. Breathe.
I'm spoiler police now.
This is genuinely just about how it's written. Is that because it is a book series that is aimed at children? It's not even YA, which obviously a lot of adults read a lot of nowadays. It is aimed at children. So it's then taking that and going, okay, that was too obvious. Okay, is that because it's me and I'm reading this as a 20-odd plus year old with all of this extra knowledge from reading all of these hundreds of books that I've read that also utilize the similar plot points? Or is it because it's badly written? And
I
it's
don't think it's. I don't think.
I don't think it's badly written in my opinion, but it's whenever you come across that, it's like, okay, I need to now think, is this because it's for kids and I'm an adult who's read a shit ton? Or is this because it's bad?
Normally, because there's other things in these books that I've let go because I'm like, it's just because I'm an adult. It's like that one thing because thinking about it, I was like, I would have noticed this as a kid reading this. Like that one I would have noticed.
I remember as a child reading it and I definitely was like, is she ancient? Is she an ancient? Like, so it was definitely there. But it was something that, at least at that age, and for just who I was at the time, which was like the overly gifted kid that then like slams into depression and fails. Hello.
Oh,
so
Also,
I didn't even graduate high school, so
at the time I was very smart. So like reading this as a smart child, I got it, but it didn't bother me. I just felt clever. Like, if that makes sense. Like, reading it as a kid, I was like, I've got it. They haven't even realized I've got it. And it made me feel, like, clever, rather than being like, why don't they know? But both are optional.
I also read a lot of books with similar plots as a kid, so it just might have been that. Even as a kid, I'd already read a lot.
Yeah, this was something that was a bit different for me. My mum is very much a stickler to traditional gender roles. So the fact that she gifted these to me was odd. For example, I got a set of classics as a children's classics.
As a children.
Thank you.
Singular children.
Look, I've not got my degree in English, leave me alone. So I got this children's set of classics for girls. There was also the set of classics for boys. I never got that. She never got me it. So that was a lot of what I read when I was younger. Was, even if it was like darker, it was mainly orientated to girls. And I think the only reason, most likely, that I got this is because of Stephanie. If Stephanie had been Stefan, I don't know if at the age of like childhood I would have been able to read the books. So for me, I hadn't read a lot like that because I was reading traditionally marketed to, remember this is 2008, traditionally marketed to girls literature in the mid-noughts.
Yeah.
So for me, had not read anything in kind of this bracket at all. So that was probably helpful.
Yeah.
That's fair. What do we think of the grotesquerie?
The name bothered me the whole time because it made it sound like a place or something to me. Like it didn't
Well,
sound
I thought it sounded like a book. Like it's like, oh yeah, you'll find it in the grotesquerie.
It sounded like anything other than a creature.
Yeah, fair.
But it
Why
reminded
would you
me,
call it?
honestly, of something from a Resident Evil video game, which was a little weird for a middle grade.
What else would you have called it then?
I don't know. It's not
Well,
that.
I mean, Ven just calls skullduggery an aberration and an abomination. Either of those words would have worked, I think.
I think it's just like ending it with airy. Like The grotesque would have been better, even.
Yeah.
Like, the grotesquerie makes me think it's a book or a place or something.
Or somewhere where that you pick up your grotesques. I'm going to the bakery and then the grotesquerie.
yeah. See?
I'll
Exactly.
order one monster, please, and I'll have these types of ingredients. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah.
Both
Although
bacon.
one day I'm going to open a
Interesting.
pub and I'm going to call it the grotesquerie.
One, do that. And two, I think it's interesting that you guys who are reading it for the first time aren't down with the name, whereas I can tell by Becca's face that me and her are just like, yeah, it's the grotesquerie. Like, both, like, I can just tell by the facial expressions that we're just like, yeah, that's what it is.
That tells me that there's going to be more weird words and weird monsters and stuff coming along. So,
Weird
The
name.
book could have told you that by itself.
yeah,
Yeah.
Just
Everything
doesn't
is
know the
named
names
oddly.
of people.
that's fair. Anything else you want to add before we move on to the Q&A section / creating a skullduggery tag?
Did anybody else pick up on the pop culture references? Sorry, I'm a stickler for these types of things, and I love pointing them
I
out.
didn't this time. There was a couple that I was like, is that one? But you couldn't put a gun to my head and say yes. So go on, tell us.
There was one that I did mention in the Discord, and that is when it skips to when all the sorcerers are killing sorcerers around the world. They skip to New York, and they follow two sorcerers across Bleecker Street, and that is a reference to Doctor Strange, who is a sorcerer who lives in the Sanctum Sanctorum on Bleecker Street. And I was like, oh my god, because I'm the biggest Doctor Strange nerd going. I am such a nerd for it. And I was like, oh my god.
I physically cannot pick up on those kinds of things. Like, even if it's like my favorite thing in the world, I could read that and right over my head.
I am
The only reason I knew this is because Becca had already told me.
Yeah.
It's the only reason I knew. Like,
Um,
and she also mentioned that it's most likely because Landy wrote some Strange comics.
He didn't write Doctor Strange comics, he's just written Marvel comics, but it's in that sort of wheelhouse because obviously he is a Marvel character. So that's where I think it's coming from, because obviously he talks a lot about comics on Twitter and stuff. So it's like, well, clearly you're a comic book nerd. So I notice these things because I'm also a comic book nerd. So it's just like reference. Where are you?
What other ones were there that we missed?
I can't think of any specifically because the one I've got in my head is in book 3. So I'm just like, don't say it because it's in book 3, and it's an obvious one too, which hopefully most people.
How obvious?
Don't. She will say it. Like, don't.
No, I'm just gonna say the sword bit in the sword fight.
Please message me because it's going to bother me.
Okay, then I'll message you in a minute. I'll message you now, actually. Otherwise,
Okay.
I'll forget.
Right, whilst you do that, I'm going to change the banner to the final one, which is Q&A, in case anyone in the audience, forgot that word then, has any questions for us. Feel free to drop them in the chat. In the meantime, whilst we're waiting for those to come through, I've tried to narrow it down to like 10 characters that we can do for our tag. But feel free to tell me if you want to swap some out. So I've gone for the classics, which are Skullduggery, Valkyrie, Tanith, China, Bliss, Ghastly, because I miss him from the first book. It was heartbreaking that they didn't bring him back in this one. Billy Ray Sanguine, because he seemed to be our favourite from this book. Ken Speckled Grouse, because I thought that'd be fun. Gordon, actually, because he came back as an Echo. We didn't discuss that. I love the fact that Echo Stones are
How did
brought
we not
back.
discuss that?
And not only that,
how did we
she
miss
says
that?
like, my favorite bit is when she's like, oh, he's like, oh, let me explain how an Echo Stone works. And she goes, no, I know. And it's like, as an audience, we're like, no, we do know, because we just read that. Like, I love that. That it wasn't like
I
beating
think
over our heads, you know?
It was such a clever way to bring back the kind of link that links Valkyrie and Stephanie. It was a really clever way to bring that back in, and also obviously all the knowledge that he's got and be able to use that. But they could have scoured his notes for 17 million hours and got the knowledge. It's just a really clever way to kind of bridge that gap between the old her and the new her.
But why didn't she tell Tanith? Tanith's hero was in the other room, basically, and she never said a word.
Not to.
Yeah, she was just being suspicious.
He said
said
not
not.
to. The dead ghost man said not to. Are you gonna go against it?
We could haunt you.
But, like,
Yeah,
I don't know. Like, that's... His feelings will be hurt for, like, 5 minutes, but, like, I feel like her feelings will be more hurt that it's not been said. Do you know what I'm saying? So, like, I don't know.
I would have immediately like turned it on and he would have appeared and I would have been like,
Yeah, that would have been. I'm like, it's here, you know.
I discovered a really cool thing. Come here.
Yeah.
I guess part of it as well could be that it's not been that long since the first book. Like, it's not like there's been any sort of big time jump, so she's probably still grieving.
Yeah, that's fair.
So that's going to be an impact of that as well.
Yeah.
And so's he. He just found out he's dead.
Yeah. Something else we didn't discuss: the reflection keeping a secret from her.
Well, I knew. I mean,
Right, I'm
maybe
just putting
it
this down the
was-
back. Let's be honest. We goofed, so we'll come back to the Q&A in a sec.
Just before we discuss the keeping the secret, one thing I want to say. This is a middle grade series. And yet, not actually, but technically, a 13-year-old girl is shot on page with no consequence.
Yeah.
Like, I tried to explain to my partner, my boyfriend was like, I know that you like reading books like younger, and I know that you read this as a kid, but why are you recommending it to people your age? And I was like, this is how dark it is. And he was like, how is that for children? I was like, I don't know, but literally a 13-year-old child is murdered on page and no one says anything.
Yeah.
Like, I have no idea how he got this past the publishers. And they didn't go make that YA
To
immediately.
be fair, like I've read like horrors and like gothic fiction for middle grade, and there are there is some dark fucking books out there. Like David Almond is a classic of like, oh yeah, it's for kids, but it will break your fucking heart. Like it's so dark, and like not even necessarily in like a grim horror kind of way. And then I was reading Chris Priestley for Gothtober, and it was so dark. And to the point that I was like, I've read adult horrors that haven't freaked me out as much as this has. And I just think it's one of those things where, like, if you can make the writing accessible, do it. I've got no problem with, like, I don't think censorship with per age is necessarily necessary, because I think it's going to be down to the emotional maturity of kids.
Yeah.
But it's a very abrupt thing. But I think actually the really scary thing is kids will read that and not bat an eye because she's back 5 minutes later. You're not really given an opportunity to like, but as an adult, we understand that there is a consequence to this. Something is going to change, and you see it later when the fact that she's like keeping a secret and she's acting different. And like when Valkyrie doubles over and she's like, I've just remembered what it's like to be shot. Like, that's fucking dark, because she's going to carry that now. She's going to carry that trauma of being shot by her friend. Even though it didn't happen to her, that's going to be there. Do you know what I mean? And it would be bad writing for Derek Landy to just never bring it up again. So.
Can you tell that me and Becca have very neutral faces?
Mm.
You could say many things about Landy. He is not a bad writer.
Exactly.
He's
So I
thought of
expect to see that come back.
everything.
I don't think spoilers in this series. I mean, obviously we're on live, so other people may have different opinions. But like in general, spoilers for me, I wouldn't care with this series. Like you could tell me every single thing that happens, and
No,
You
you won't
Appreciate
make
Ali,
that.
because they will.
see, but
No,
I
no,
don't. I
no.
honestly, like in general, don't care about spoilers. Like
No,
with
there's
most
some
things.
big stuff that you definitely do not want to know about. You
There's
want to read
something
it.
I could say something about like the book before this one. So like the last one, and you're saying, oh yeah, I don't care about spoilers, and I get that for so many other series, but that would be such a big spoiler that it literally wouldn't make any sense, because you would have missed 17 other massive spoilers in between. Like there's some that are just, they don't allow you to link the pieces together unless you actually experience it through. So if you were going to get the spoilers, you would essentially just need a rundown of the events of each book. Because like I said, I could open one of those ones and read a page with a spoiler on it, and there is a genuine chance that you two just wouldn't
Yeah,
understand.
you just wouldn't even get it.
Like, what's that? And it's like, no, that's a massive spoiler.
Can I just drop something on you for just a sec?
Hi.
Oh Lord.
Yes.
I am on page. Where am I? I'm not
You're
too
slurring
familiar.
already, by the way.
I'm on page 250, but I'm drunk, so I'm not
We
going to
know.
know what anyone says.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
I'm
fair.
tipsy. I'm not quite drunk yet, but I'm aiming to get there
Well-
so I can buy some books. I'm going to go all the way. Hannah, I'm going to need you to set a limit on my Waypoint account so I don't go over.
Oh god, don't go on Waypoint drunk. That is a bad idea.
There are worse things to play while drunk. To be
Do
fair.
the wish list. We've got wish list capabilities now. So if you go on the wish list and just select it and then screenshot it to me, that's probably safer. And then we can go back on it tomorrow.
You guys are just going to be everything on your site, so there's no point in wasting time.
You've got quite a few of them already, so it's fine. Right, I'm switching over to the Q&A bit so that we can discuss the Q&A in case anyone has any questions, and also to come up. The only thing I need is a 10th character. So who do you think our 10th character should be? Oh, and for Emma, the ones that you missed, the characters that we're including, are Skullduggery,
Hold on,
Valkyrie.
including on what though?
Oh, so basically, I want to create a Skullduggery Pleasant tag. So,
Oh.
Guys.
yeah. Did you?
Oh,
Yeah.
title happened.
This is like the first time I've met Abby. Are you okay?
So, Emma, what you've missed is that in order to be able to see the books,
Oh, I saw
currently
the picture in the group chat. I did see
so I'm
that.
stuck on all of that, and you made me laugh, and I fell off backwards.
Oh,
Yeah.
into the
sorry.
wall.
And I was too busy
Oh,
looking at my
you're
notebook to
on
see
that.
it, and I'm gonna have to watch this back now. One
It's just a kind of
1 hour
slow
15.
fall. It's nothing impressive, but it's just like
I thought you were resting like the camera on that. I'm impressed that you've climbed that. That's amazing. Iconic. More effort than me, who's in her pajamas in bed with her passion fruit martini.
Love that. Love
Oh,
that.
Living your best
sorry,
life.
after this, we're moving on to the fancy ass Marks and Spencer's pink passion fruit martini.
M&S.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Are you rich?
I wasn't my grandma. She does it
Are you rich?
every other month. Treat myself.
Don't play on that one.
I just saw a comment that says I knew the reflection was going to end badly, and badly, and I'm so intrigued. And now I'm like, I mean, I've seen the bit where it's been pew pewed. Well, yeah. this one.
Oh, by the way, Emma is a sensitivity reader, in case anyone didn't know. So when she's talking about pew pew, that's the technical term for it.
Oh
No, just in case anyone saw Q&A and thought, oh, good, no more spoilers. Which, you know, pew pew's
we're at
really
that stage
ambiguous.
now. Okay, so what do we think then, like tag-wise, what prompts can we add to Skullduggery as the first one?
A book with death.
Okay.
Really
That
Chaotic
one.
good character.
Say that again?
Chaotic good character.
Yeah. Abby's got a thinking face on.
I feel judged. I'm trying to, because like a book with death is a bit too ambiguous, considering all the books we read. But as in like trying to narrow it down, because I was thinking I've read the series Messenger of Fear by Michael Grant, where after you die, if you've done something bad, you're basically made to go and punish other people
Mhm.
who are still living who do bad things. So that's like actively looking at death. So like the Book Thief, where it's like death is an active participant. So I'm trying to think of a way of basically being like death is a major part.
So death as a character. A book with death as a character.
My brain
But then
went
Messenger
to
of Fear
Gideon the
wouldn't work
Ninth.
for that.
I went to Gideon the Ninth having a skull on the cover, and I was like, oh, he's a skeleton. But like, I couldn't think of any other books with skulls.
I mean, there are some. You've got The Bone Witch, and you've got
Any Terry Pratchett book that features death.
King of the
Oh, I
Wicked.
love that.
It's got a skull on the front.
Basically, Abby and I are on the same wavelength, just one of us is more concise and eloquent.
One of us is sober.
That will be it. That will be it.
Abby, I'm just going to tell you now, and Hannah and Ali can vouch, and probably Becca can vouch for this. I have not changed in the slightest, apart
No.
from the fact that I can't speak more than normal. This is me.
Yeah.
This makes me love you more. Because this is also that's fine. This is also me. I just need the alcohol to actually do that.
Oh no, this
Otherwise,
is
I'm like, oh no, I'm intelligent. I have conscious thoughts inside my head. I'm like the deathy one. The deathy one.
The deathy one. I like that. What about Valkyrie?
badass bitch. Can we call her a bitch?
I suppose.
I mean, she is.
I feel like that would be better for China.
Yeah.
I feel like
yeah.
it's better to call China a bitch.
Well, I thought
than
with
13
China,
years
it should be like a front cover with symbols on it, because I feel like the symbols and stuff is quite prevalent in her storyline.
You know
Or
what's
character owns a
what?
library.
Yeah.
She's got the library.
I'm having a revelation that I'm actually recalling more things from this book, whether it's because I've read all 250 pages of it in the last 24 hours or because of the alcohol, but I actually understood the symbol reference.
Well done. Proud of you.
And I also actually dog-eared 2 pages that it wasn't anything relevant, it was just funny moments. But like, you know, at least I tried.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I
That's
actually.
what Ali did.
Yeah,
Yes, Ali.
because otherwise I can't remember things.
That's
I
fine.
just put it all in the Discord. Then just go, that's my diary.
I forget that exists, not gonna lie. And then I
I
ask
just don't like
Hannah
typing
where I
on my
get the book.
phone. That's
I'm
the only reason.
I'll be like, Hannah, how do I get the book discounted for the next read along? And she's like, Discord.
It's on the Discord. It is.
It's gonna go for the next 13 books, cat math.
Count my.
I'm here.
Yeah, all of the read-alongs and book clubs that I'm part of get a discount code, so you get money off the books. So
Where do I
Question.
find this discount?
Seeing
Go
as this is a Q&A, I'm going to put a question in.
Ooh,
For the readathon, like the read along, are we including? You will go again. Why?
You're saying about the 2 spin-off books?
Yeah.
it has been put to me by Becca, and quite frankly, it will depend when we get there whether I can stand to read anymore. But probably yes.
They're short
think if we
stories,
made
so they're really quick to blast through.
If we
I mean,
make
I'm
it
getting out of here. It's
I may hate them because I hate short stories.
Maleficent 7's a full story.
oh,
Focusing on Tanith.
It's been
Yeah,
years.
it's That's the one I read last before I restarted the series again for this read along. I haven't read
It's
Armageddon
only
out.
hardback, 280 pages, so paperback it would be even less. So it's small.
Really doable.
I like how I'm keen when I've not even finished this one.
Okay. What about Tannis Live?
Really important. Ali, did you finish?
Yeah, 10 minutes before the show.
Love that for you.
See,
I would have
could
finished
Tanith
earlier, but I
have-
decided a nap was more important.
I decided drinking.
I can't do that right now. Although I guarantee you, if I could, I would.
Oh, Ali, the first thing you're gonna do is have a drink. You're gonna
I actually had a drink in the hospital. The nurses let me sneak something
I
in.
was gonna say I can imagine you being on the bed
Yeah.
post birth, being like,
No, like I had like just ejected the human, and I was like, you know how you guys said I could sneak that drink in? I'm gonna have it now.
You deserve it after that.
Yeah, agreed.
I don't think anyone's gonna stop you.
No,
Tanith Lowe.
Stabby
That's it.
character.
She is the lake.
All I recall of her is motorbike.
Yeah, I do feel she's
And
also like
leather.
she is a bit of like an ex machina character as well, where you're like, oh, you need the cavalry. She is the cavalry.
Yes.
Which is now bringing Marvel Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. into my head.
You're
Yes!
welcome.
I've at least watched that.
So
That's fair.
good!
Mr. Bliss.
He's an enigma to me. He shows up and I'm like, who are you? I know I've seen you, but I don't know who you are.
Okay, so what about then a book that you've definitely read, but you cannot remember anything about it?
Yes.
Oh, look at me contributing.
We're so proud.
I really thought
What
this
about
live was going to be
Sonic?
over. And I clicked on and I was like, oh, she's still going. Let's get in there.
For Tanith, you said like kind of ex machina, like she just sorts it all out, which is a bit like predictable. So what about like a book in a series that, how do I explain this? Like, you know, like middle book syndrome, where it just like does what it needs to do to get to the last book. And you're like, right.
Yeah.
If someone can word that nicer, not you, Emma, then
Oh my god. Hi, Hannah 2.0.
am I wrong?
No, that's
I
what I
wrong?
said. Hello, Hannah
Thank
2.0.
But yeah, just like a book that's like predictable and just like you know exactly where it's going to go before you read it, and then it did exactly what you would think.
That's fair.
Predictable
go-
book. 3 brain cells. 3. They just bounced into the corner and made it. Predictable book.
There we
Did
go.
you just steal all of ours? For a
Yeah.
minute there.
I don't
what
have
about,
any, so
what about
I got
Ghastly?
China's, okay? I just took China's brain cell and it bounced right into the corner and came up with an idea.
Well, like the old DVD screensaver.
That's what I meant. That's what I was referencing.
That's fair. What about Ghastly?
well, he's just a fucking stone. I mean, I don't know what
At the
happened to
moment,
last 100
He was in
pages.
book 1 quite a bit.
Yeah, oh, but I
Like,
excuse me for being confused because we're in a book 2 live show.
A
We're allowed
book
to
with a
reference book
character
one.
that doesn't show emotions.
or defies
Okay.
gender roles.
He's a stone.
Mm.
You think of Ghastly would be one way, but because he's a tailor, but he looks terrifying. So maybe someone who's like appearance.
Subverts expectations.
What
Yeah.
about then a book that is really well written but has a terrible front cover?
I
Yeah.
can't think of any because I won't read them.
Yeah,
None of those will be on my recently reads, but my childhood reads, yes.
I've
I
got a book for
wasn't
the other way
attracted.
round. Beautiful
Huh?
cover. I've got a book that's the other way round. Beautiful cover. Hated the book.
Oh, what is it?
Course of Miracles.
Yeah.
Hated that.
Yeah.
Hated
I
it
just
so
I
thought
much.
told you you were
Yeah.
gonna hate it. I told
Just
you.
like the cover doesn't match the inside.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
I
It's
thought
split
it
into
was
like 4 different stories, and I didn't care about any of them.
But the thing is that she gets shot in that book, and then it's fine 5 minutes later. And I'm like, so is your magical power the fact that you don't bleed to death then?
I didn't even get that far. I DNF'd at page 142 and went, we've had 3 separate storylines. End. Why should I care now? You know?
I read the
I
whole
thought
thing and I don't care.
I genuinely thought it was a fantasy, and then it turned out to not be a fantasy, and I was so disappointed.
Sorry, it's not a fantasy.
Miracles isn't a fantasy.
No.
Not
I know,
really.
but because they said it was like Jungle Book meets
Yeah.
Les Mis, I for some reason thought that there was animalistic characters in it, and that it was going to
Where's
be
the
a
jungle? Is the Jungle Book literally just the references to the tiger?
probably.
That's grim. I hate it.
Hannah, you know when you say to me, Emma, you said you don't like retellings? That's what I mean. When they
Yeah.
claim it's this and it's fucking not. That's when I'm like, nah. If it's actually a retelling,
That's fair. Billy Ray Sanguine.
I can't hear his
can
first
really
name
like
and not
sharp
just hate
things.
everything.
Can't hear his name and I hate everything.
That's
What
funny.
did you say back there?
Character who really likes sharp things,
Mm.
or walking stereotype character.
What about, well, I guess it's kind of the opposite of a Ghastly Bespoke, isn't it? What is a book that is beautiful but terrible on the inside?
And all of our answers will be Court of Miracles.
Yeah. We'll just all
No,
be
it's
like,
just how
this
it's
book,
gathered.
please don't read it.
I've got others, so if you guys want to do that, that's fine. I'll just pick something
I'll
else.
just be like, I've never read this, but everyone says it's atrocious.
I'll do Current of
The
Feathers. They're good.
The writing is good. It's just the fact that the storyline just didn't work.
I
Randomly
didn't care about a
misspelled.
single thing. So,
I
It's
just
kind of
wanted to hit her.
cool. Like, I hate that. Like, if a book's just badly written, it's like, cool, it's badly written. But when you go into it being like, oh, it's going to be this, and it's just not, and you're like, it's still a good book, but it's not what I wanted. Because it's not what
see,
you
I don't
sold
even
me.
think it's.
Well, that one didn't even have that. So.
No. That was
Oh,
just
God.
a bad book.
Oh, no.
What about Ken Speckled Grouse?
Mad scientist?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's really just generic
Or
mad
what about
scientist.
yeah, like interesting magical science or something like that. Something where like, because there's loads of like speculative fiction that I've read that I'm like actually, or like sci-fi's that I'm like, yeah, there's like something extra special about that, you know?
Hannah, you said like special magic scientist thing, and my brain just went, what? So maybe
Yeah,
not.
that's fair.
Like, you could have that option or the basic option for Emma Novella, which is
Mad Scientist. You want me to go with Mad Scientist?
Frankenstein.
To be fair, the first one that came into my head when you said that wasn't a fantasy. It didn't have any magic. It's a dystopian. It's like a sci-fi dystopian, and that's the first one that came into my head. So yeah, I would have just
Mad Scientist it is. Fine. Don't let me complicate it. That's fine. Gordon Edgley.
Dead. Like I said,
Oh,
for Sluggery.
Right, can you just stop shouting the word dead?
What about a book with a character that
Who's dead?
dies early on, but it's still like impactful? Stop saying just dead.
Like, we start biting my
Okay,
fingers.
here's one. What about a book where the writer has self-inserted themselves? selves.
How often does that fucking happen, Hannah?
Oh, all the fucking time.
Where?
All the fucking time. All
Where
the time.
does anyone who is not you notice that?
Me.
Yeah.
Becca, shut up. I'm proving it.
I'm just bad at doing tags because I always just pick random books and make them fit because I can never think of anything.
That's fair.
Ali and I are on the same page here. I'm not intelligent enough to know where I can go, oh, author, self-insert, love that.
Well, I'm just not. I just can't. Whenever someone asks me a question, I forget every book I've ever read ever and that ever exists.
But
I
on the
won't
upside,
notice
Ali, you will have time because I'll give you these in advance and you can think about it, you know?
It
I
won't
won't
help.
notice a self-insert until I reread.
Mm.
Like, first pass through, unless it's like, then I don't notice. And I haven't reread books properly since I was like as tall as this stack of duvet. So that would all be
Okay, fair enough.
that would all be childhood books.
To be honest, the only one I've really noticed is Carrie Hope Fletcher's books, but that's only because I've watched her channel so much. I've noticed little things about her, her personality that she sort of weaved in, and she's gone, yeah, I did totally do that.
The only thing I notice it in is Hannah's writing, where I just spend the whole time going, "Look, it's Hannah."
It is me.
Argue that all authors do it to some degree.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Every author
So
does
then
it
it's
because
an
that's
easy
how you
answer
write
to-
inside
Shut
someone's
But I guess,
head.
yeah, I was just going for ones where it's like really obvious. Like Stephen King is notorious for like putting characters in that are basically him, or like he's using himself as like a facet of that. But it's fine. We can do other things.
No, do it, because I can just...
I mean,
I
do
don't
it.
want to anymore, Emma.
What?
What if you do it and then I just put your unpublished book on there?
Yeah, do that. Fine.
What I was going to say is...
Free
is do it,
advertising.
because we all know I'm not going to do this tag anyway, so...
Emma, I've already said it's going to take me 4 months, okay? So you can take like at least 4 years.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
good then. It's going to take that minimum.
I mean,
Boy,
by
like-
the time you get the tag out, we might have finished the series.
Who knows? Maybe.
If I make it 15... Right. Granted, I didn't finish this one, but I was close enough to the end, and it was extenuating circumstances. If I make it through this entire read-along, I
It'll
don't
be
know
the
who I am.
first series she's ever finished. I know it's not, Emma. You don't have to correct me. It's fine. I can see it on your face. You're like, no, maybe not.
No, as I was
Cold
going through
turning.
my head and going, aside from the obvious of like my friend's book series, accurate. I was
Yeah.
actually
Amazing.
Does anyone finish series anymore? Or do you
I
just
do.
start them?
But only because I feel I have to, you know?
I have a list in my bullet journal that I ignore.
Hmm.
So I should be getting through those. Now I'm going to start another series.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. The first one's always the best anyway. The rest you read because you enjoyed the first one so much. In my
Or it
mind.
just leaves you on a massive cliffhanger and you're like, oh, I should probably figure out what this means.
Well, to be fair, Gordon Edgley has a very abrupt death. Maybe we should go with a book with the best cliffhanger ending. That's got to be easier, surely.
wait. How does he have an abrupt death? He's already dead when the book starts. Like, we
In
don't
the
know.
Because
yes,
it's murdered.
Emma.
Murder doesn't mean quickly.
Yeah, but no one
He
is
does.
expecting
He's
it.
writing his thing, and then he's just like, "Oh, that's unfortunate," and then dies.
Read manuscript.
I don't fucking remember this.
I'm going
He's
with
writing a
cliffhanger
new
because clearly
book.
it's too complicated. So. Cliffhanger. Okay, so we didn't actually. I didn't write anything down for Skullduggery and Valkyrie because I feel like the creative process hadn't really kicked off yet. So, but for the others, I have for Tanya Flow a predictable / middle book syndrome book. China Sorrows, I've got library / symbols. Mr. Bliss, a book you've read but you remember nothing. For Ghastly, a great book with a terrible front cover. Billy Sanguine, a beautiful book, which is terrible. Grouse, we've got Mad Scientist, and for Gordon Edgley, Cliffhanger. So it's just Skullduggery and Valkyrie that we need.
I feel like one of these needs to be that you should pick a middle grade you love. Maybe do that for Valkyrie.
Yeah? Yeah?
Skullduggery.
What obscure bullshit did my brain just spout? Oh, pick a mystery that was from the 1800s. Fuck off, Abigail. No.
There's exactly one, and it's called Cadfile.
You could do a
No, I
book
was
with
thinking Sherlock.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
like Agatha Christie's books. But
Yeah.
like that, like if you haven't read them, then you haven't fucking read them. So that
Yeah.
doesn't work for a tag challenge.
you could do characters that have good banter.
Yeah.
With
Yeah.
good banter.
I feel like
don't know.
that just means I'm gonna have to look for British authors on my shelves. Because, like, I love other nationalities. Don't get maybe Aussie, but I love other nationalities. But there's nothing quite like British and Irish stupidity
Yeah.
for good banter.
Agreed.
Yeah, like literally
Agreed.
the first thing that I dog-eared was when Billy Ray Sanguine, like, he goes into the ground, he's like, I'm gonna kill you for free, and then he pops back up and goes, or at least half price.
Yeah, that killed me. Yeah, I enjoyed that.
No, it's full well, but
It's really like you can just imagine like this really intense moments like I'll come back and kill you for free, disappears, and then just like a beat, and then it's like or half price. Like
Yeah.
actually I can get money from this, like can relate.
wouldn't it have been hilarious if he'd just popped back up again and Skullduggery had just shot him? It would have just been like,
Yes.
no.
It would have been a very, very short book.
Just
Yeah.
whack
It
'em
would
all.
have went through his eye hole.
Finished it.
Through the eye
It
hole
went
would have
through his
been
eye
good.
hole.
Yeah.
If at some
And then I'm
point,
wondering. Oh, sorry.
oh sorry, I'm just if at some point during the series he doesn't get whack-a-mole, I'm going to be very disappointed.
Just giant mallet like a cartoon. Just heathers him.
That's one thing I was thinking while reading this. I was like, you can just tell that Derek Landy just had fun, where he's like, "What ridiculous thing can I throw in? Let's just do this. It's stupid. Let's do it." And I was like, I love that. Like that's what I love about middle grade. Like it's not really sensical, but it works.
Indeed.
Like we said last time.
See,
It's
right,
very
Emma would have
documentary.
been great to have here for the discussion about grotesquerie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I can tell you right now, no, because my brain's like the what? Oh yeah, that. Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't like it. As a word, didn't like it.
No.
This took me 7 years. They didn't like the name.
I mean, I think all the names in the book are a little bit ridiculous. So, and it fits what it is. It's grotesque.
Yeah, but just call it the
Yeah,
grotesque.
but then just call it the grotesque. You
Yeah.
know? Or the, yeah.
But none of them are just called that. Like Skullduggery is not called the Skull or
No, but that's because that's not his name. They're not
Yeah, I
naming.
know.
It's not like he's naming. He is called a skeleton, and at one point he's called like Skellman, which I really enjoy.
Skull Man.
Um,
But then the cleavers are called the Cleavers, not the Cleave.
because there's multiples of them.
yeah,
And there's still a Cleaver, so it's still a grotesquerie.
I love that Emma thinks they are making a great argument, and everyone else is just like, "No, gay."
Well, because I kind of got through into this because apparently someone thought I'd be a great addition to this discussion when I'm just like, oh no, what's going on?
Well-
So I want you to be an antagonist.
I think
Okay,
you're proving my point.
I will fulfill my role as the antagonist.
Me and Hannah just don't like it because it doesn't sound like a creature. It sounds like a place or a book, or it
Yeah.
doesn't.
Alright.
Like,
I
okay,
think
Emma,
I
I'm going to
can
pop to the
do
grotesquerie to pick up some monsters, but then afterwards, I'm going to go to the patisserie or the bakery or the. Do you know what I mean? Like, it just.
But I
Augury.
guess with it being
An
made of
augury is
different
go.
constituent parts, that makes sense.
Abby, you need to say that again because I only heard a jumble because Emma was also speaking.
With it being made up of the different constituent parts, it makes sense. They've went shopping for all
Yeah,
of the different
that's-
parts.
I
It's
get
not-
it. I
I
just
don't-
don't like the word. You're never going to
My
change my
argument-
mind.
My argument was that there's a creature called the Augury in the series that shall not be named. So it's not just
In
like
which
the
case, it
early-
doesn't. Yeah, I don't care.
I still wouldn't like that either because it makes me think of a place. Like every single time they talked about the grotesquerie, I was like, "Where are they going?" No,
the words ending in "et" make you think of the supermarket.
probably.
Into the word.
Grotesquerette.
But I was
That
just thinking
sounds
like a little like
female version of
ballerina
a
thing.
grotesquerie. You've got the
That sounds like-
grotesquerie and then a grotesquerette.
Yeah.
I'm just having
Is the
some image of a
grotesquerette
tiny thing
smaller?
like this big. And then
No,
just stepping
like
on it.
most female of the species, the grotesquerette is actually bigger. And she will eat his head at the end.
So that's what they actually needed to defeat the grotesquerie was the grotesquerette. And they just needed to mate.
Indeed.
You think
Okay,
that
so
was
we
like
haven't had
one
any
little
questions, so I'll
one?
take that down. Right. We'll come back to skullduggery another time. But we've been chatting for a good long while and it's getting kind of late. So let's just end then by saying what we think is going to happen in the next one. Well, no. Ali and I can say. Emma can guess. Abby and Becca have got to keep their pie holes shut so they don't give anything away. I'm really intrigued by the diablerie. That sounds really intriguing. I would like to know more about that. I'm intrigued about the reflection, and I want to know if that is the White Cleaver coming back.
You got a different cover.
No, this is the next one.
Oh. I'm like, what the fuck is that?
Wait, no, I want to know how about that.
I want to know who this surfer dude that's just like hanging out back here.
So
This
yeah,
is
on the
my
back,
cover.
it says, he's dead, she's deadly, the bad guys don't stand a chance, which is, I'm pretty sure, verbatim what they said in the orange one. And then it goes, you've seen it all before. Some bad guy wants to bring about the end of the world. A few people get hurt, sure, but everything's all right in the end. Well, ... Not this time.
Oh.
So intrigued.
I
I
just
still
remember
probably won't pick it up until like the day of.
No. So things are changing because I feel like I've completely neglected everyone on the Discord and certainly on the Twitter because I've posted absolutely nothing. So moving forwards, we will be having some organised sprints via Twitter and Discord to actually get us to read. You don't have to read the book at the same time, but I will certainly be reading the book at that point so that I don't make this mistake again and that we can actually fill the Discord with our favourite quotes and stuff because we did really well in the first month and then I don't know what happened to me this month. I just didn't. So for next month / the one that we're actually currently in, gonna get on that.
I'm gonna annotate it again, so.
Same. So
Also,
you've got that to look forward to.
in the confusion of me then finding my cover and then being miffed that my cover doesn't have as much details as your covers, I missed what Ali was expecting from the next one.
Oh, I
Ali didn't say. Ali didn't get there yet.
Doesn't matter.
I don't think I have enough brain power to understand that right now.
That's fair.
Things will happen. They will be things and sorts.
On my cover, Skullduggery is kind of like Wolverine.
I've never noticed that, and now I regret taking away that cover.
Hmm.
I'm a Wolverine nerd.
He's not a Wolverine on mine.
No, he
He's not on mine either.
just has fire.
Who's this dude?
That's Vengeance.
Is it?
Yeah, on the first one, that's second one even. That's Vengeance, isn't it?
This
He's
is my cover.
described as having a grey beard, so it has to be. And he's wearing a military uniform.
I don't pay enough attention.
Then you've got
Well, he's
Mr.
even more
Mr.
generic
Bliss.
than I imagined him.
The Grotesquerie.
Is that Sanguine?
No, who? No, that's the Grotesquerie.
Is that
And then
Bliss?
it's
I know that's the grotesquerie. This
And then
The
you've got
bald
Tanis
dude.
Lowe,
Bliss,
and then
maybe?
you've got Valkyrie.
who's the bald dude?
Mr. Bliss.
This is mine.
Too many characters.
There's
Yeah.
nothing on here.
No.
Although on the back, this is the Grotesquerie on the back of mine.
See, that looks more interesting than the tree.
That very much just
The
reminds me.
tree.
He's a fucking tree.
Yours is like some sort of squid or cephalopod.
Tree.
Mine's
He's
like
a
a
tree.
bandage dude.
Well, it's because he's got like the little spike things, hasn't he?
Also, why
This is what I
Valkyrie
think of when I think
so
of the Grotesquerie.
Valkyrie is like a main character. She's the majority of the book, and she's the smallest fucking figure.
Well, she's a baby. She's right front and centre on the next one.
Good, because where she fucking belongs.
Right,
Whoever
I'm
this
gonna
dude
leave it
is,
there
I'm
then.
going to hate him. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I just
I'm saying
immediately look at this dude and I'm like, whoever this is, I'm going to hate his guts.
Wow, I'm intrigued to find out if he's going to be a bad guy or a potential love interest. Who knows?
Either way,
That book,
I will
Hannah.
hate
I
him.
don't need to buy it now.
That's fair. Right, I love that these two are muted. That's hilarious. Right, it has been great. Is there anything you want to promote to the 3 people that are still here?
I have
Art.
nothing going on right now.
Excellent.
Book
Emma,
box.
book
I
box?
do art commissions, such as Dog, and I have a book box with secondhand books and a shitload of goodies. So, twicereadtales.com.
Excellent.
I was gonna say, you want to say the name of it?
Illustrations and Twice Read Tales Co.
There we go.
That's
Abby.
that one.
Nope. Becca.
My channels don't follow.
I run a comic book website dedicated to helping people get into Marvel Comics called the Comic Book Sanctum. So if you want to check that out, check it out, essentially. I do a whole load of stuff and update it as each new TV show and film comes out. So
Excellent. And then obviously we've got the Discord and stuff over on the Twitter for this read along. I also offer a discount via Waypoint Books if you want to get your hands on the next copy at a discounted price. And then other than that, I hope everyone has a nice evening. I'm clicking end broadcast. Everyone do the wave thing.